Today is May 17th, maybe, possibly. It's pure anarchy on the calendar. When you went and bought a 2020 calendar, did you think for a second that, we should have just taken these calendars back, because what is the point? Am I right? Am I right, peeps? My peeps? My people? My people. Am I right? Well, the idea of this channel is to look at my crap. Not that crap, but the crap that I own, and kind of organize and sort it out in a methodical and slow fashion. Well, that was the idea. That's not going to happen. What's really going to happen is I'm going to look at assorted stuff that happens to get in my way from day to day, and then I'll comment on it. Usually before it goes to a storage unit, and I don't see it ever again. A storage unit's a great idea, because I don't have enough space in my day-to-day life to deal with the stuff that I have purchased in the past several decades. Right. Have you ever heard of Honey West? Honey West was written by a husband and wife team. They used the pen name G.G. Fickling, right? And but there were actually two people, husband and wife, Gloria and Fickling, somebody. Anyway, the guy dude who probably wrote most of this stuff, to tell you the truth, because of the way Honey West is described. Anyway, and Honey West was known for a TV series that lasted about a year in the 60s, and it's alright. There were a series of books, though. At the same time, there was another series of books, which is Private Eye Books, and written by the Ficklings, called Eric March. This is Eric March, Case of the Radioactive Redhead. I think this one's from like 60, I don't know. Anyway, as you can tell, I've read much of it. It's not very good. Beauty pageant, some chick has radium or not, murder, something. It's not fascinating. Eric March came back in a book called Naughty But Dead, a new Eric March mystery. Haven't read this one. That's a theme, a recurring theme you'll see here. Haven't read much of them in this series. The Crazy Mixed Up Nude. This was Eric March, his last mystery, or was it? I'll explain to you in a bit, because we're going to get, this was like 1964, I think. Anyway, so we're going to get into the Honey West, and these started in the 50s, right? Same authors. Now these are the TV versions, tied to the TV series. There were earlier editions not tied to the TV series. Yeah, I love Anne Francis. And the TV series was okay. Certainly not sexy enough. Look, my Roku screensaver has activated. Okay. Certainly not sexy enough to be Honey West. Physically, she's very pretty and sexy in her way, in her fashion. I do love Anne Francis. But is she Honey West? No, she is not. Honey West, as described in the books, more of a Mamie Van Doren, Jane Mansfield knockoff. I wouldn't say Marilyn Monroe, because Marilyn Monroe, although sexy, certainly the standard. The gazongas are just not big enough. Not for Honey West. I'm not kidding here. This ain't no joke. This ain't no disco. This girl for her was number one. Right? then was these were in the 50s, mind you, before the TV series, and they reissued them with the TV series. This Girl on the Loose was next. If you're into Honey West, and this is the earlier edition before the TV series started for A Gun for Honey. Okay? Another TV edition, Girl on the Prowl. Kiss for a Killer. Dig a Dead Doll. Blood and Honey. The Ficklings again. Riding their ass off. Honey in the Flesh. Bombshell. Now, Bombshell was the last Honey West book published, and it was published right before the TV series started. Now, they reissued it as a TV edition. I think it was published about 1964, and TV series started in like 65 and ran for a year. And then, no more Honey West, right? Well, there was in 1965, and I'm trying to track it down, Mike Shane's Mystery Magazine in 1965, and I'm going to eBay search for it, and there's one story that exists, and it was tied into the TV series, right? And when I find it, I'll own it. I'll have all the Honey West. Well, in early 70s, the Ficklings wrote a couple of more books pertaining to Honey West. Now, the show had ended, the official series had ended, but they still had these. They still wrote these books, and the Honey West by this time on the cover looked a little more like Anne Francis, a little thinner, and probably not the ideal honey that you want, right? Not the honey that I want. Honey on her tail. And these were the early 70s, right? And a new adventure of Honey West. And I haven't read this, and my understanding is it's quite bad. It's not good. And there was one more, the final adventure during the Ficklings' lifetime of Honey West. And this one, stiff as a broad, stiff as a broad, and this has, and I believe she's a secret agent or something in this, but this has Eric March in it, a crossover from a character who hadn't been used in a decade, okay? And this was their last Honey West book, and only in the last couple of years, I believe, someone else has licensed the Honey West character and is writing stories and books. In fact, I heard an audiobook that fell off a truck and onto my computer a while back of a Honey West written by someone else. And it was not the Honey West books in the 60s had 50s and 60s it was a different time, and there was a lot of teasing. There was a lot of sexual innuendo. Well, this was not really sexual innuendo. It was sexual. I think the Ficklings are going to haunt these people. This hack writer haunt them. And that's Honey West. There's another stack here, because I'm a sleazy guy, right? Who knows the type of things that I do? Well, there was an Australian author who wrote over 300 books. He wrote one book a month, until he died. Carter Brown. Well, Carter Brown was an Australian, right? And he wrote several different characters and series. Well, this one particular series that I happen to enjoy because it's horrible and has a character, a lead character called Mavis. Mavis Seidlitz. Anyway, I don't know her last name. Anyway, so Carter Brown, an Australian, writes books about Americans from their perspective And he began doing it years before he ever visited America. But he wrote these books, and the only books from him that I collect are the Mavis books. Mavis is kind of a bubble-headed assistant to a private detective, and she's kind of a Gracie Allen character, and she has huge jugs and just helps him solve his cases, right? And bungles, and at one point goes out on her own and tries to. It's a mess. And Carter Brown, bless him, is a hack. But he wrote a lot of books and he made a lot of money, and you can't fault him for that. Okay, the Mavis books, and there are 3 or 4 that seem to be published only in Australia, and you can't get them for love or money here. Well, you can get them for a lot of money, but you're not going to love it. It'll cost several $100s to just find these books and get them to the United States. You don't want that. Well, I don't want that. The ebooks, Carter, Ghost of Carter, who died 35 years ago. We need some ebooks. Right, here's a Mavis book. Murder Wears a Mantilla. And this one's in sad shape, and I probably paid $5 or $6 for it. Okay, and that's a 70s repressing. Okay, The Loving and the Dead, another Mavis book. Right. None But the Lethal Heart. I believe I found this on eBay, and they had failed to properly name it, and I believe it was sold cheaply under the name None But the Legal Heart, which would make it a courtroom thriller, and nobody wants that. Okay? Tomorrow's Murder. Another Mavis book. Okay? Lament for a Lousy Lover. Now this is a Al Wheeler and Mavis book. Al Wheeler is another character that Carter Brown wrote, and much more successful. He wrote many Al Wheeler mysteries, but only about a dozen Mavis books. Okay? The Bump and Grind Murders. Now, this was the first one I got, and I actually read this. And I think this was published in about 1964 or so. And this is horrible. This is not good. Mavis goes undercover to solve a murder at a strip club where she's chased around the desk and her clothes are ripped off by the manager. And the manager says, you know, this is so good, I'm going to put it in the act. And so during the performance, every night she's chased around the desk and her clothes are accidentally ripped off, and not good. Secret agents or not, and goofy. Look, I'm from a different era. I'm not from the 60s. I was born in the 60s, but I don't remember any of it. But truck drivers used to buy books because porn wasn't, it was a thing, but you couldn't just go and say, I'd like some porn, please, and get it, okay? And a lot of this came through books, and it has to be this titillation, had to be, had to be things that, using your imagination had to be stimulated as well. There wasn't no Pornhub for you, boy. Not then. But there was a spy craze in the 60s, am I right? Spy craze. Well, Carter Brown said, I'm going to make some money from that. So he wrote Silence and the Super Spy. Now, for the life of me, I can't remember the name of the artist of this, but he's drawn so many of these, a lot of Carter Brown covers, and he's still alive. I mean, he's like 100 years old, but his art is so good that he sold these books that probably weren't worth reading. Right? And then Murder is So Nostalgic. That's another Mavis book. Okay. And The Undead Sing. Now, the weird thing about And the Undead Sing, and this is 70s pressing, is somehow, some way, I paid for one, and I got two of them. I only paid for one. And one came in, and I said, I'm sorry, it was delayed, and it got lost or something, and they got me another copy, and I got both copies. And, I don't know. That was the last Mavis book. And Carter Brown lived another dozen years and didn't care to revisit the Mavis character. They must not have sold incredibly well. I noticed at the stack I have more Mavis, not more Mavis, but more Carter Brown. And I haven't read any of these. There's Walk Softly Witch, The Deadly Kitten, Zelda, Murder is the Message, the Mini Murder, must be midgets involved, okay? The Passionate Pagan, and The Body. Carter Brown running out of names for his books. Well, that, and look, I have I bought a little phone holder where I can, I don't have to sit here and hold the phone, so to speak. And it props up, it clamps to my desk, and it holds the phone steady. I bought that, and I don't know where it is because of my disorganized world. What is it, the name of the channel? It doesn't matter. But those are the books that the Honey West and the Carter Brown books that I currently possess. This is fascinating. It's riveting. Yes. Well, that's May 17th, 2020. If I ever told you another year, it's a lie. And, this year, most years last 365 days, am I right? I think 2020 maybe 366, because the leap year. Man, this thing, you thought 2016 when all the celebrity rock stars died, you thought that was something? Oh, boy. Okay. All right, well, next time maybe I'll have the clamp to hold the phone on, and won't have to do this for 20 minutes while I'm holding my hand in one place. That's exactly what she said. People still say that? Well, we'll see you in the next. No, you'll see me, or my hands, or something in the next video. Yes. Time to wrap up. Bye bye.